more on this case and where it could be heading, let's bring in Bob Bianchi. He's a criminal defense attorney and a former head county prosecutor in New Jersey. Bob, we do know that Enrique Marquez cooperated with law enforcement. How much does that cooperation buy him?
Well, he's going to be getting some credits under the federal sentencing guidelines for acceptance of responsibility right from the get-go, which is going to drop the level of the crime. He's looking at 35 years right now. But there's also something called 5K cooperation with the federal government. To the extent that the importance of the information that he's providing, the ability to help law enforcement be able to not only to solve these crimes, but potentially get other people, will also give him potential further reduction in his sentence. So it's very important.
So what do you think he could be facing when you count all of that in? How many years?
Well, I think he's going to be looking at a lot of years. I mean,
regardless of that.
Regardless of that, certainly. I would imagine nothing less than a decade or more. In the end analysis, when he pleads guilty today, under the federal sentencing guidelines, it's really up to pretrial services and the judge as to what the ultimate sentence is going to be. So that cooperation, the quality of that cooperation is going to be essential so that the FBI and the U.S. Attorney's Office goes in and they say, Judge, the stuff that he gave was unbelievable, really good for us. That will help him reduce it somewhat. But these are very serious charges.
Will the public get to know more information based on what comes out in court on the cooperation? Will we actually get more information?
No, it would be very unlikely that you would. And you can be assured, I mean, he has given a tremendous amount of data, which is one of the reasons why I'm surprised that there was a talk about actually giving him bail. He's looking at a serious risk to his own personal safety when he goes out there from these nefarious elements that, no, he is providing significant detail that we in the public are not hearing. He's being major league debriefed, for sure.
I want to ask you about two different things that we do know about. One is the 911 call, which we have the transcript for, also some of his Facebook posts. So let's start with the 911 call. One of the things he says to the 911 operator is that he admits that his friend has his gun, but he also justifies it in a way saying, well, I just told him to hold it for me. It was just storage. He obviously didn't know, according to this call, that it would be used in this terrorist act. What is the impact of the 911 call?
I don't think the 911 call has any impact. In fact, you can almost see what happens here. He says, I know they're going to trace the guns back to me. It's not unusual for there to be deflection and say, but I didn't know he was going to do this. But when you read the affidavit prepared by the U.S. Attorney's Office, he admitted that he knew that these weapons were going to be used for terrorist purposes.
It's quite an affidavit, by the way, with a lot of detail about the potential plots that they were putting together in the previous years. And
right.
It's very chilling. It's available for anybody to read. It's quite an affidavit. Let me ask you about this Facebook post, though. That was about a month ago. One of the things that he says is he admits that his life turned ridiculous, and he says it involved drugs, antisocial behavior, terrorist plots, marriage, might go to prison. I mean, he names all these things, and he's almost painting a picture of remorse in his actions in the past years and setting up that it was this crazy time in his life. It really shows the conundrum of law enforcement, doesn't it, Bob, between people that are just talking about doing bad things and then the people that actually do them. And one wonders where Enrique falls on this, because he wasn't part of the terrorist plot just recently, but he was engaging in other activity in previous years.
Yeah, listen, people do things all the time in the criminal justice world where we see that they do them, but they regret doing them. But the fact of the matter is he was major league entrenched here. He was radicalized. He was getting information. He was plotting. He was helping bring other people into it with the sham marriage that he had. He is so way deep into what prosecutors do is they look at the actions. They look at the behavior, not just the words. So do I think at some point in time he has remorse? Well, I can tell you now he's got remorse because he's in prison. He's going to be there for a long time.
But it doesn't change what he did in the previous years. Even though they didn't carry out these acts, it's still the crime.
Yeah, the conspiracy is just the agreement to do it and an act in furtherance of it. And there were some serious acts in furtherance of it. And the reason why it stopped was because other people got arrested and they were afraid that they were going to be detected, not because they had a renunciation, as we say in the law, of purpose. They had an intention to do bad stuff, but they backed off that plan because they thought they may get identified.
Very interesting. Bob, great to have your expertise. Always appreciate it.
Yeah, sure, Jim.
We're going to monitor the